It's time now for Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild. Stay up to date with your team all season long with Call of the Wild. With head coach and GM Bliss Littler, here's the voice of your Wenatchee Wild, Arch Ecker.
Hello and welcome to Call of the Wild, your weekly Wenatchee Wild coaches show. I'm Arch Ecker alongside Wenatchee Wild head coach and general manager Bliss Littler. This last weekend, a couple of games, one on the road, one at home, and now we're kicking off a 6-game homestand. We'll talk about all of it this week. And let's start off with last Thursday night, heading up into Surrey to face the Eagles. And that's every time we go there, we have to talk about the big sheet of ice and all of that. But it really didn't seem to even come into play on Thursday. You never would have known.
No, we got off to a good start, and it's something we didn't even mention in the locker room that we just feel that you drop the puck, the guys have to be ready to play, and we have to make them earn their goals. And I thought we did a good job of that. He was a very good effort.
You know, a team like yours that's built on speed, having extra area on the ice to work with should tend to benefit you, you would think. It allows a little more area for creativity.
Well, it does, but it's also things happen. The smaller the sheet of ice, the quicker things happen. But again, the smaller the sheet, then it gets clogged up and easier to hook and to hold and to clog things up there too. So, and there's no doubt there's more room for creativity, but it's harder to get to the net, just the extra ice. So, again, I think we did some things in the neutral zone. I thought we played with a lot of speed. I thought we created some problems with them with the extended offense and defensive zone that I think we extended that, did a nice job at creating a little more space for us with speed that it seemed that we had pretty good jump.
You know, an area that your team seems to excel in is in the neutral zone, how quickly they can navigate that portion of the ice. Now, a lot of times at this level, you don't see players move the puck from one to another at those angles, moving sharply, going north-south, as well as this particular team does. Every team can make cross-rink passes, but tape to tape up with a narrow chute, your team does very well at that.
I think it's definitely one of our strengths that we transition real quick. And a lot of times you have kids that get the puck and they don't move it back to the middle. And really, I think most coaches will say you want to move the puck to the middle, then kick it back out, and you do that and you make the defenseman move. But the group we have, they've really done a good job at that. And the more we move the puck, the more success we have off the line rush.
You know, certain players we end up talking about week after week, but they really give us no choice, especially when you get a guy like A.J. Vanderbeek who explodes with a 4-goal outburst on Thursday night. How do we not talk about him? I know, he's a goal scorer, but you know what? It's not just him. That whole line was clicking magnificently that night.
Well, Arch, we've been very fortunate that I know for a fact that in my coaching career I've never had less transactions of players coming in, players going out. And with that being said, I've never had less line juggling. That there's been very little. Basically, our lines have kind of stayed the same right from the start. There hasn't been a lot of movement other than we have an injury or who double shifts on our fourth line. And so it has generated a lot of chemistry, and all three of our lines have it. But no doubt that line with O'Brien, Konzo, and Vanderbeek, they've definitely developed some chemistry. And when you have a guy that shoots it the way AJ does, a lot of good things happen.
AJ's offensive output helped put the Wild on top 2-0. Then early in the second period, it seemed as if Surrey found their legs a little bit. Maybe it kind of came out with a renewed sense of purpose, popped in a couple and tied the game. But then it was Brendan Harris and Sam Morton, who, interestingly, and you've mentioned before, maybe down the line the heir apparent to the Harris throne, but those two working together, it was a beautiful play as Harris navigated into the zone, creates a little space for Morton, and bam, the Wild are back on top.
Well, in my opinion, Brendan showed why he's as dynamic a player as there is in the league. That he created a nice play, and you're right about Sammy. That I know Sammy's at times he's just licking his lips, he's salivating, he wants to get in, he wants that ice time, he wants the opportunities that Harris gets. That eventually eventually that's going to be handed over to him. And again, I have no doubt that he's going to do awful well with it. That he's extremely creative. He's extremely competitive, and I see him doing a lot of the same things that Brendan does.
And the Vanderbeck train kept on rolling that night as he completed not only the hat trick, but then added a fourth goal, something that's only been done twice prior in Wenatchee's 8-year, now into their 9th season history. And to see, you just don't see guys score 4 goals in a game that much anymore. I mean, it's hard enough to get 3 at this level. And for a guy to pump in 4, I mean, there's something that's clicking.
We've talked about Vandy a whole bunch on this show, and getting the 4th one, you know what? He just shoots it so well that
and that was from a nearly impossible angle down low on the left side, and just found a little spot.
Yeah, sometimes guys like him and like Charlie, they get 1, they get 2, and all of a sudden they believe that every time they shoot the puck, it's going in. I mean, it's something that sometimes goal scorers, they have to be a little selfish. That some people think I need to move the puck there, but goal scorers, they get in their head that every time they shoot it, it's going in the net, and when they're feeling it, I think it's good advice to keep shooting the puck.
Dakota Raby started the season. He had a 7-game streak where he scored goals in 7 of the first 8 games of the year. And it seems at times he's just a little snake bit. Puck's just out of his reach, shots going off the outside, and then he ended up getting one at the end of the Surrey game. But, he's a kid that he works so hard in the offensive zone, and sometimes I think, maybe you go into a little bit of a stretch where you're not getting the goals. Maybe you talk about squeezing the stick too tight, but had to feel good for him to get one.
Yeah, I think if you had, I'm not sure if you checked out the bench, the whole box was excited for him, even though the game was out of reach at that point. But everybody's excited, and that's one of the good signs about our team is that guys really feel good for each other, and they hurt for each other when things aren't bouncing for them. And everybody knows that Code is one of our hardest workers. That shift in, shift out, and game in, game out. He works hard, and he's been very snake bit. He's had a lot of great chances, and whether the goalie makes a great save or what have you. So again, it was nice to see him get back on the score sheet.
So a big win for the Wild there, coming off of the stretch of a couple of tough outings against Chilliwack at home. So back into the win column. You get the bus ride home, felt pretty good there. You get Friday off. Give a chance for the guys to kind of rest up a little bit and gear up for the Saturday game. And that was the only home game of the weekend. Guns and Hoses night. We had everything set in place for a great evening. Had the Victoria Grizzlies in town for their one visit here this season. Had the big flag beforehand. We had the bagpipers in the building. We had a police sergeant singing the anthems. I mean, there was a lot going on, and it was a good atmosphere in the building.
It was. Again, I guess this is one of my, if not my favorite events during the season. That they both do a great job coming out, and it's such a good cause. Even with really bad weather, the Seahawks playing right before our game, I was really happy with the people that turned out and the enthusiasm that people had in the building all night long.
And here I got to break out the V word, Vanderbeck again. 2 minutes into the game, Vanderbeck and Konzo colliding. Well, Vanderbeck took the shot, and the big spongy rebound comes out the middle, and Konzo fires it home. And boy, getting those two guys started 2 minutes into that game, you had to feel like, here we go again.
Yeah, it's a good place to start. It's a good way to start. And again, every team in junior hockey at every level works that play that it's far pad or pass off pad, and you have your middle guy driving hard, and the puck went right to him, and that was probably one of the easier ones that Konzo's had all year, where he's just redirecting it back to the net. But it's a great way for us to get going and to start hockey.
He had so much energy coming out. You outshot him 19-7 in that first period, and things were rolling. But then there's that in the back of your mind, you get a little nervous because a 1-goal lead after dominating through the first. We've seen it time and time again. You let a team hang around, but the Wild apparently drawing on past experience and recognizing that and coming out and keeping the foot on the gas the rest of the way.
I was real happy with that. That we did a good job at making plays, but when we didn't have an outnumbered rush, it wasn't a good time to beat somebody one-on-one. We advanced the puck, got it all the way over the goal line, onto the yellow, and then we were able to create some in-zone offense. And with that, we were really good at the in-zone offense, and we didn't create a lot of offense for Victoria, that we made them earn their offense.
Devin Cooley, we've talked about him before as well. He's more than just a 6'5" frame. He also can be very athletic, and that was on display on Saturday as well.
Yeah, he didn't have a whole bunch of work, but he did have some quality saves. That in the second period, when it was 1-0 and then 2, they had some quality chances that could have put them right back in the hockey game, and he came up with the big save when we needed it.
The Wild hadn't scored a shorthanded goal in a while. They lead the BCHL in shorthanded goals, had 13 coming into the contest. Then Brendan Harris and Charlie Combs teamed up. Combs comes up with the puck over on the right wing, spots Harris. Now he gives Harris a little bit of a lane because those guys just read that so well. Harry had to make a cutback and then shoot across the body. I mean, and that's one of those things you talk about. It's just his creativity.
Yeah, that's not something you work on in practice. That's something that the creativity that they get, whether it's small games or after practice or before practice, getting out on the ice early, when they're younger kids, maybe sticking puck, whatever it is, that you're just trying stuff. And when it's going your way, like I say, we have a lot of forwards that they feel that they can make a play almost any time, and most of the time you like seeing it, but especially in that situation where it's a one-on-one and everybody's behind him, so if he does turn it over, we still have 4 guys back. But it was a great play by Charlie, and then an even better one by Brendan.
What's your biggest takeaway from that game overall as you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the night?
Well, I was very happy with the speed we played with, and we didn't give up a whole bunch of quality chances. That we've talked a little bit more since the Chilliwack series that, and we want to make plays. We want to play with speed, but at the same time, there are times that it just doesn't make any sense to try beat a guy one-on-one. When you have your 2 forwards that have gone to the net and you have a defenseman that's jumping into the play, and then you try beat a guy, well, you turn it over, it's a 3-on-1 back the other direction. And we have to eliminate some of that kind of stuff as we get closer to the playoffs if we want to be successful at that time of year. I thought we did a good job of that both games this weekend, and I thought the Victoria game up there was one of the better games of the season that we played in. So again, I know we're playing a real quality team and easily one of the best teams in the league, and I thought we did a good job of taking care of the puck and making plays, and all the way around is a good effort.
And as you look to try to shore things up heading towards the postseason, now is the perfect time to have a string of home games. The next 5 games all the way through the 21st of January will be played here at the Town Toyota Center. We'll talk more about some of the upcoming home games and what to look forward to as Call of the Wild continues. We're back in a few moments here on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network. And welcome back once again to Call of the Wild. It's your weekly Wenatchee Wild Coaches Show. I'm Arch Ecker alongside Bliss Littler, talking about the upcoming homestand, which continues through this weekend and next weekend here at Town Toyota Center. We'll start off with this Friday night. The Alberni Valley Bulldogs will be in town. It's Friday the 13th. And the last time we played Alberni Valley in their barn, it was a Sunday afternoon game for the Wild. We've been on the road for several days. For them, it was their first game in over a week. Plus, it was teddy bear toss night for them, well, afternoon anyway. And all of that thrown into the pot, and it was a well-played game. It was fun. It was a 2-1 final as the Wild came out on top. But, they're a big team. But beyond that, what do you expect to see from them on Friday night?
Well, I think they have to play a real physical game. They throw a lot of pucks at the net when they get offensive opportunities. But they're definitely, they have to play the dump and chase and be physical all over the ice. That's their style. That's their MO. And we didn't have. I believe that was a game we didn't have a power play the whole game. And so it's one of those things that when we get our opportunities to get them to back off a little bit, we need to make them pay for the mistakes and score some power play goals.
Saturday night, we'll have the Cowichan Valley Capitals coming into town. It's the first look we'll have at that squad this season. Last year, I think we had a tie and a loss against Cowichan Valley. And so this year, again, first time to see them. We'll be traveling up there in a couple of weeks at the end of the month. We play a game in their facility in Duncan. But what's the book on them? What do we know about them?
Well, they have one of the best coaches in Western Canada, that Bob Beattie. He's been around forever. He does a great job that way. Again, they're another team that plays very structured hockey. They don't beat themselves. So we're going to have to make sure that we go out and we play our style of hockey, that we get up and down the ice. And when we get opportunities on the power play, need to make the most of them and make them earn everything they get.
The homestand will continue on Monday. On a rare Monday game, it's Martin Luther King Day, so a lot of folks will have the day off of work. They can come down here 7 o'clock as the Wild take on the Coquitlam Express. Now, Coquitlam had been on a horrendous slide, had lost, I think, 22 or 23 in a row, and they finally got off the mat, and they were able to put a victory on the sheet against Surrey last week. But then they've taken another one on the chop since then. But, when you get a team that's been beaten up as they have and gone through what they have, they're absolutely not a team you can afford to look past. Not that you have or would, but certainly you got to keep an eye ready for them.
Well, they've had a crazy amount of injuries, and I have no idea when those players come back, if they're coming back. But we had 50-some shots on them. When they started that streak, their last win was against us, and we had 50-some shots. I think we gave up 10 or 11, and they ended up beating us that night. So they definitely have goaltending that's capable of stealing a game, and we need to show up and play our style of hockey and not look past them. That when you're playing teams that are beat up and they're missing a lot of guys, you just need to take advantage of your opportunities when you get them, and the quicker you can score, get up a few, the better chance you have for them saying enough. The longer they stay in it, the more excited they get, and so it's going to be important for us to get off to a good start.
It'll be the third game in 4 days for your team at home. When you're on the road as a coaching staff, you have a little more control over the players' activities and what time lights out is and what they eat and when they eat and all of that. When you're at home, they're kind of on their own. So is it easier on the road, or is it easier at home?
Well, most coaches like to control as many things as you can, and it's much easier to control those things on the road. But again, I wouldn't trade that for the home cooking they get here. They sleep in their own beds at their billet home and playing at the TTC with our fans. So I'd never trade that.
And would you say that with the veteran presence you have on your team, and the guys understand what's at stake, and they're certainly going to be making smart decisions?
I think so. I think so. They're teenagers. They're going to make some mistakes time to time, but for the most part, I think they get it.
Well, we'll look forward to a lot of hockey coming up at the Town Toyota Center. Make sure you're a part of it. You can get tickets online by going to tickets.wenatcheewildhockey.com, or stop by the box office at the Town Toyota Center, or swing by in and see us up here in the office as well. Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for tuning in this week. He's Bliss Littler. I'm Arch Ecker. This has been your Wenatchee Wild Call of the Wild. Enjoy it.
You've been listening to Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild, a presentation of the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.